Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hello!
A&P Adventures here. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Patrick.
And today we're showing you Central Park Part 2.
Yes.
We consider this the Children's District part of the park.
That's right.
Part of the park. Park of the part. Because there are so many children's activities and events, and just you'll see as we make our way through why they consider it the Children's District.
Yeah.
It is April 2023, unseasonably warm, 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's right. It's a gorgeous day.
Yeah.
We're going to get some really beautiful shots here in the park today. It's warm, the skies are blue, things are blooming. It's going to be a great tour.
I'd say we get going.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so we are we're in the southern end of the park right now. And we came in, where did we come in, Patrick? We came in around 7th Ave?
59th and 7th, yeah.
Yeah, and you can kind of walk straight in from that area. 59th Street is the southernmost end of the park. And today's tour, the Children's District area, we're going to be covering essentially the eastern corner of the park, essentially going up a little bit of the east side of the park as well. And you can see we're right here in front of the Central Park Carousel. It just took off. The horses are now going, and we might, as we get closer, hear some of the music from the carousel as well. This is the fourth carousel that's been on this site since 1871. Originally, the park founders did not want commercial ventures in the park, but it kind of became a little necessary over time when you realize, we need some more funds other than just city funding to keep the park up. Some azaleas in bloom, some tulips, beautiful tulips in bloom today on this April 2023 day. Now, this carousel is originally from Brooklyn. It was originally crafted in 1908 by Solomon Stein and Harry Goldstein. And it's quite large. It has 57 hand-carved horses and 2 decorative chariots. Let's see if we hear a little bit of the music. On this sunny day, lots of, it's spring break time, so we're going to see a lot of kids in the park today, and adults, of course, but enjoying the beautiful weather here in spring break season.
Oh, it's so ornate and it's cool. Oh, I love it.
I like showing off the gates too, and and as we exit, we'll show you the pillars at the entrance as well.
Yeah,
They're also carousel themed. I think that one's better over there.
Oh, yeah.
It's lit nicely. But you'll see these little pillars over here. Hushaby, don't you cry. All the pretty little horses. Some of those beautiful tulips in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Again, originally crafted in 1908, this carousel, and it's the fourth one that has been at this site in Central Park since 1871. All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Look at those tulips are just
everything.
today.
Let me show this bed of tulips and daffodils off. My gosh.
Those are some red buds behind it. There's some red buds blooming back there.
I mean, the sun is just hitting everything so perfectly today.
We're going to go through, I should say, the Playmates Arch. And as we make our way down here, take notice of the way the bricks are laid. It is meant to be quite playful and fun. That is indeed the idea. These arches were put in all around the park, and the designers did that so that traffic could flow nicely. So you can see folks are jogging and walking above us. I'm surprised we're not seeing a carriage ride go by right now, but that's where the carriage rides would go. I just saw a pedicab slip past. But the idea is now that we've got these little walkways so you can have uninterrupted flow throughout the park.
Yeah.
Again, this one's called the Playmates Arch, and the design is indeed meant to be playful and quite fun. You might hear a little bit of an echo as we make our way under here.
But this is so cool.
Yeah, look at that. Like this sort of almost like a sunburst look to it. It's probably not showing up entirely on the screen, but the bricks are kind of laid at the corners, or what's facing out of the red part of those bricks, which is kind of cool. So it creates this almost like zigzag feeling as you walk through.
Yeah.
Again, the Playmates Arch, meant to be quite playful, which I think it is in this area. And as we exit the Playmates Arch, you'll start to see up ahead of us the dairy. And we're quite pleased because the dairy, we're out of the echo now, the dairy has been under a bit of rehab for some time. So it's been under some scaffolding for a while, and it's certainly been redone and revealed all anew. But the dairy opened in 1871, about the same time that that carousel was established right behind us. And this was designed by Calvert Vaux, who's one of our two parks designers. Olmsted and Vaux are our two designers, and we'll chat more about them along the way. Lots of beautiful flowers coming in on this spring day.
Oh, spring is in full steam ahead. Spring is here.
Now, originally, the dairy would have served like milk and cookies, milk and treats to kids in the area. Would have had games. Would have been a bit of a rest area. I wish it still had milk and cookies. I mean, it does have a visitor center now with a little bit of a gift shop. And I would bet there's at least a snack or something in the gift shop. But milk and cookies just sounds so good. But again, the dairy. And you'll see the northern end of the park where Harlem Mere is. There's a structure that looks quite similar to this. That's a newer structure, but they designed it to look quite similar to the dairy.
Really cool.
And maybe when we get under here, we could just show south.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll see Wollman Rink in the distance. We'll see it again, but we just want to point out where it is from here. Yeah. So if we were to just head straight south, we would hit Wollman Ice Skating Rink right there in the middle of your screen, and you're seeing the buildings of 59th Street or Central Park South there behind it.
Yeah. All right.
So let's see. We'll go up and around.
Let's go up and back down to the rink. Yeah.
Up down to the rink at some point. So Central Park's about 843 acres, or about 340 hectares. The perimeter is about 6 miles, or about 9.5 kilometers. It's about 2.5 miles end to end, or about 4 kilometers, and about 1/2 mile in width, or about 0.8 of a kilometer. It sees about 38 million visitors a year, and I think many of them are in the park today.
Yeah, they're all here today.
Because it's busy. Again, spring break and sunny and warm. So we've got New Yorkers out and we've got tourists out, and everybody's enjoying the park. 58 miles of path, or 93 kilometers. 8 bodies of water, 36 bridges, 21 playgrounds, 9,000 benches, 26,000 trees. Do you want to go up there?
Yeah, let's do it.
This, by the way, is Manhattan schist that we're headed out onto, which is sort of the bedrock of Manhattan. And this large outcropping of it is one of the more popular photograph spots in Central Park. And you can see why. You get to see these
you get a
views.
Stunning like Manhattan skyline right there, and nice views of the ice skating rink, which is, of course, not an ice skating rink in the summertime.
No, actually, in the summertime, it used to be an amusement park. They put in a little bit of an amusement park there. And last year, they put in a roller rink. And this year, it's a giant pickleball field, or I guess, I don't know what we would call it. There's quite a few pickleball courts
there, yeah.
They call it City Pickle, which I enjoy. It looks like folks are really enjoying it too.
Yeah, but in the wintertime, this is a Wollman ice skating rink.
And the Wollman skating rink, there would have always been skating here. The pond, which is where we're headed next, would have curved around, and there would have been ice skating on the pond when it froze over. But Wollman Rink opened in 1950. It was a gift from Kate Wollman. And it's quite popular, a very popular spot to go skating in the park, because you get those beautiful views of the skyline behind you as you're skating in the middle of Central Park. So it's an iconic spot to come skating at.
All right, we're going to climb down off of this Manhattan schist here. And
give us a second.
Everybody say a prayer.
Yeah, it's weirdly slippery today. Whoa. We got it. So the park is indeed, it's a living work of art. It was sculpted and designed by two gentlemen, Olmsted and Vaux. They were won in 33 of a design competition. So essentially, the city had overdeveloped. You want to go? We'll go straight
Yeah, let's go straight and then, or yes,
or curve down.
let's go curve down because
Okay.
then we'll be able to we'll see the other arch that we'll eventually go under.
All right, that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So the again, it was won in 33 of a design competition, or they were won in 33. So the city had basically overdeveloped. They had plotted out all the gridded streets in the 1811 Commissioner's Grid Plan, and they forgot to include green space. And so there was a big push for there to be green space. So the city finally decided, yes, we'll do it. And they selected Olmsted and Box to be our two designers. The first part of the park opened in 1858, and it was completed, the entire park, in 1876. I say completed, though. It's always been, it's always a work in progress. Are these for Beth?
No, these are forsythia.
Oh, for
I
Scythia.
just wanted to point these out because they're just lit so beautifully with the sun. Oh my gosh. They are short-lived. They have a short life, forsythia, but they sure are bright and colorful when they pop out in the spring.
The zoo has a lot, or excuse me, the zoo, I just gave away part of it. The park has a, as you can probably hear the kid yelling for mom and dad who are sitting down here. The park has a lot to offer. It has the zoo, as I just gave away, which we're going to be walking through in just a couple minutes. The Carousel, which we already saw. It has an outdoor theater, the Delacorte. It has not just the Wollman skating rink, but it also has the Lasker rink on the northern end of the park, which is a pool during the summertime. And then it has boating, it has hiking, it has biking, it has jogging, softball fields. I mean, there's so much to do in Central Park. This really is New York's backyard.
Yeah, their playground. You should never get bored in Central Park. You can, there's endless activities, and there's not really, I wouldn't say hiking necessarily in Central Park, but you can certainly uh, get your exercise on and
Yeah.
get your steps in.
Well, even the North Woods has a little bit
Yeah.
of kind of hiking, as it were. The park is open 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. And it's the fifth largest park in New York City, by the way. Look at these cherry blossoms.
Oh, so
It's
beautiful.
the largest in Manhattan, I should say, but the fifth in the city overall. Wow, look at them coming into view.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's trying to get their best pictures while the
We
blossoms are in.
We're going to
are
see
blooming.
them. Yeah, we'll see them all throughout our walk today.
Oh, yeah.
These are just a perfect shot. We're going to head out onto the Gapstow Bridge. The Gapstow Bridge was created in 1896. Now, this is different than like the arch that we went through earlier. So this actually goes over the pond, the body of water that's below us.
Yeah.
Now, this is made of Manhattan schist, and or the schist, the rock that we've been talking about, that's found all over the park. And this is kind of a famous bridge in terms of Hollywood. It's been seen in Cruel Intentions, Sweet Charity, Weekend at Bernie's, Home Alone 2. There in the, just speaking of Home Alone 2, there in the middle of the screen, you will see the Plaza Hotel. It was built in 1907 by Henry Janeway Hardenberg. It's in the French Renaissance style, sort of a giant French chateau overlooking the southeast corner of Central Park. Warren and Wetmore added some later additions to it, but that is home to Eloise, and of course that's where Kevin McAllister stayed in Home Alone 2. Should we go down to the water?
Yeah,
what
let's
do you
do it.
think? I see some ducks who want to say hi to us today, so we might as well go down. Again, it's a 30 degrees Celsius day, 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's right.
And it's April 2023. It's spring break time, so we're seeing the park filled with
The joint is jumping, I like to say.
Yeah, there's usually a musician right here, but he's not here today.
No, not today.
He said it's too warm. I'm gonna stay home.
I don't blame him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's out today with their cameras because it's such a picture perfect day.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I skipped our stairs. Here we go. Speaking of everybody's out, look at all these ducks who are out today. enjoying the sun and the beautiful water. This is where the mandarin duck was, by the way. If any of you remember the beautiful mandarin duck that came and hung out in Central Park for some time. Now, of course, we have Flacco the owl, who's hanging out in the park, and an owl that escaped from an opening in the Central Park Zoo, and has proven to live on his own in the park. And so the zoo officials have said, you know what, we're not going to try to capture Flacco again. We'll let him live in the park. So
Yeah.
I'm told that one of his favorite spots is in the North Woods. We've been looking for him, but we haven't seen him yet. He keeps shying away from us.
Yeah.
He just says, "Who are you?" and runs away. So we haven't seen him yet. All right.
Yeah.
Now, in the distance behind the pond there, that wooded area you're seeing is the Hallett Nature Sanctuary. And the Hallett Nature Sanctuary is it's pretty cool because it was shut down for decades here in the park to uh, anyone other than park officials. There's the Gapstow Bridge, beautiful view of it. But now it's recently been reopened. It's a bird sanctuary. It's about 4 acres or about 1.6 hectares, and it's really quite quiet there in the Hallett Nature Sanctuary. I know that seems surprising because we're right in the middle of New York City, but it can be a little bit on the quiet side. Also, the fencing that they have in there and the benches that they have in there, for them as much as they can, they used trees from the park that have been downed by storms or such, or trees that they might have had to cut down for various reasons to build that fencing and the benches, which is, I love that. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Absolutely.
Why not? So they have a really cool rustic feel. Look at those ducks, so happy today in the sun and in the water. All right, so we're going to make our way over to the area of the zoo, and we'll get to kind of walk a path through the main drag of the zoo, as it were. And we're going to go through another one of those arches that we were talking about earlier that are meant to keep the traffic flowing. So as we go up this walkway right now, you've probably seen a lot of folks zipping past up there on bikes and pedicabs and walking. And we're going to go down to an arch that'll just take us right underneath all that, so we get an uninterrupted stroll, which again, Olmsted and Vox, that was part of their idea, was that there could be uninterrupted walking or movement through the park. There used to be vehicular traffic in the park. That ended, what, maybe 10 years ago at this
Yeah, I
point?
think so. We haven't had it for a long time.
This is the in-scope arch that we're going under right now, by the way.
While we're stopped here, I just want to fix the gimbal here because it's a little weird. Just 1 second. Okay, there, we're fixed now.
Sometimes technology, not always our friend. Again, this is the in-scope arch. This was constructed in the 1870s. So when the park opened in the mid-1800s, you would have seen carriages they could have dropped folks off kind of right in this area, the southeast corner of the park, and then they could have walked into the mall, which is the main promenade that goes through the center of the park. We show that off on our first Central Park tour, and it goes up to Bethesda Fountain and Terrace. But folks could have come in on that main promenade, basically. So that would have kept this traffic moving. This is made of granite right here. And again, we are headed over kind of to the south. We're in the southeast corner, but we're going to be moving further to the east side at this point. We're going to get a little bit of that echo as we make our way through here. And
I think it's hard to see, but some of our feathered friends have taken up home.
Have joined us?
Yeah,
oh, I see. They're
by the lights. You can see they've made nests up there.
I'm curious, Patrick, do you have a favorite part of the park?
I do. I guess either the Alice in Wonderland statue or potentially Belvedere Castle.
Yeah.
I love going up to Belvedere Castle just because the castle is so beautiful, and then you also get stunning views from up there too.
Alice in Wonderland statue, by the way, which we'll be seeing later on in this tour. By the way, when we fixed our gimbal, I just remembered I wanted to say one more thing. Our gimbal, by the way, is our stabilizer on our phone. I wanted to say one more thing about the traffic in Central Park. We will still see some cars occasionally, and that is the Central Park Conservancy and some of our NYPD as well. We also do have mounted rangers in the park that we see every now and then. We catch glimpses of them. But now we're entering the zoo area. So if you wanted to come to the zoo, you would enter the park at the southeast corner, right by the Plaza Hotel, 59th and 5th. So this is the entrance to the zoo. Now the Central Park Zoo is it's rather modest. It's only about 6.5 acres or about 2.5 hectares. It's also not terribly expensive, 10, $15. Not bad. It is open year round. So this zoo opened in 1934, although it was predated by a menagerie that was here. So what was happening was New Yorkers were dropping off unwanted animals at the Arsenal, which is this building on our right that's coming up here. The Arsenal, by the way, actually predates the park. It was completed in 1851. It was a storehouse for arms and ammunition for the New York State Militia. It's had a lot of uses over the years. Now it currently houses the New York City Parks and Rec Department. But I digress. That's the Arsenal there. So New Yorkers were dropping off their unwanted animals here at the Arsenal, and everything from like 72 white swans to a small black bear. And so in 1864, the city approved the construction of a series of buildings that made up that menagerie where these animals were placed. And then in 1934, the city used WPA funds, or Works Progress Administration funds, part of FDR's New Deal, to build the zoo. And it's hopping today. You will find a lot of New York families have memberships to the zoo because it's a great way for cooped up kids in their Manhattan apartment and bring them to the zoo with their membership. Now we're going to kind of pause here in the middle and take you over to see there's a sea lion show that's right here in the middle. And we'll see if we can see any sea lions hanging out today.
Yeah.
See if they enjoy the sun. Ooh, where are they? They're in the shade, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
They don't want to pop out, but there is normally a sea lion that show frequently here. But even when they're not having a show, you can usually see them swimming, so you still get a little bit of a glimpse of them sometimes when you pop by.
Maybe they're resting. I don't know. Maybe it's bath time.
It's bath time. I bet that's it. Well, I'm so sorry. I seem to be lying. Hey-o, about the sea lion show. I'm actually not lying. That's, I think, the first time we've ever not seen them when we walk past. So the Delacorte clock you see beautifully lit right now by the sun. Thank you, sun. It goes off every half hour from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's children's tunes and seasonal songs. And it's now digital, the sound in there, but the electrical system was actually replaced in 2017 by the Conservancy. They kind of updated it, but this was dedicated in 1965, and it's named after its donor, George Delacorte, a name we're going to hear again on today's tour, and you might have also heard on our Central Park 3 tour, the kind of our All About the Arts tour. So George was a philanthropist, and he really donated money. Oh, here it goes. Donated money for a lot of the children's attractions in the park. And he was a fan of the medieval clocks found in European squares. And he wanted to create one for the children here in the park. Spanish artist and designer Fernando Tejedor collaborated with American architect Edward Coe Embry to create this beautiful clock up there. And there they go. Made of bronze, and we have a penguin, kangaroo, a bear, an elephant, goat, hippo. And those were created by Italian sculptor Andrea Spadini.
I love that the big hippo is playing the teeny tiny little violin.
Yeah. Elephant has a squeeze box.
Raindrops.
Oh yeah, not on this sunshiny day. The penguin has a drum. The bear has a tambourine. He's got to be careful with those nails.
What an interesting song to choose.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe they want to be the antithesis of what the day is.
I guess so.
There's not a raindrop in the sky. As we head under this, we'll make our way to the Children's Museum. Or excuse me, Children's Zoo. So it's a kind of a fitting little gateway entrance here going down to the Children's Zoo. And we also get another one of our little archways here too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you want to show it
Show
from
it from the
behind?
back?
Yeah. There we go. Fifth Avenue buildings there in the distance.
Yay!
Yay, applause! All right, so again, we're making our way over to the Children's Zoo, funded by the Tisch family. Tisch is another name you might see around New York quite a bit. They have a lot of funding at New York University as well. And the Children's Zoo is just a little bit north of the main portion of the zoo. So if you come to the zoo and you're looking for specifically the Children's Zoo, you got to keep walking up just a little bit. But specifically what we want to show off here at the Children's Zoo are the gates leading into it.
Oh, they are and they're very well lit today. Oh my gosh.
So these are created by American sculptor Paul Manship. We've got 3 bronze piers supported by this stylized bronze vine with roosting birds, 2 children playing flutes, and then 1 child dancing between some prancing goats. And it's a celebration of the interaction between children and animals that really kind of makes a perfect fitting entrance to the Children's Zoo. They were a gift from Governor Herbert Lehman and his wife Edith Lewis Atchell in 1961 as part of a funding for the funding project for the design and the construction of the Children's Zoo. By the way, Paul Manship also created the Prometheus statue at Rockefeller Center, yeah, behind the ice skating rink. If you recall that beautiful statue that's behind all the skaters, if you picture when they light the Christmas tree. Oh, children having fun. We've got some hot dog cart with a long line.
Oh yeah.
Some daffodils in bloom today on this stunning day. And as we make our way up to our next spot, you're going to see daffodils. I think maybe some tulips up ahead. Now, Patrick mentioned not as much hiking in the park as you would think of as normal hiking, but there is a little bit of a meadow to our left, kind of a wild meadow with a bit of a hiking path there. You might be able to see that coming into view. I think they call it the native meadow. And you get a little bit of a rougher path through there.
Yeah, it's not pavement or cement, so you can have a softer walkway.
I would call that Manhattan hiking. Why not?
Yeah, sure.
We'll take it. Now, I'll start talking about the next statue before we get to it, and that is none other than Balto. And Balto has a great story. So January 25th, there was a diphtheria outbreak threatening the children of Nome, Alaska. And the necessary medicine was about 700 miles away in Anchorage. So 20 sled dog teams relayed the medicine through blinding snow, sub-zero temperatures, ice flows, 5,000-foot mountain peaks. And a Siberian husky named Balto completed the final 53-mile leg of that trip. So a group of dog lovers and New Yorkers eager to honor this feat were successful in raising money and petitioning the city to include a monument to Balto right here in Central Park. Here he is. Check him out before anybody climbs up there. The beauty of this area is that because it's the children's section, a lot of these statues in this area are meant to be climbed upon. And Frederick Roth is the sculptor. Went on to be the park's head sculptor and is one of the most represented artists in the park. He's got some zoo sculptures, Mother Goose sculpture over by Ramsey Playfield. I'm going to show you the plaque at the base of Balto as well. again, this was just in December 1925, so just 10 months after Balto completed that trip. And interestingly enough, Balto's the only. Oh, sorry,
I was
you're
just
going
going
to.
to
Yeah,
show them.
sorry. The only uh, subject who was at the presentation of the unveiling of their statue. Balto was there. The only honoree, I should say.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah. No, he's a real canine hero.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so lit so beautifully up there on that giant rock outcropping is a treehouse for dreaming. You can see it there in the distance. The buildings you see behind it are all along Fifth Avenue. And that can be a wedding venue. It can also just be a place to hang out, read your magazine, meet a friend, have a picnic.
Yeah.
If weddings, by the way, are permitted in the park, if you're going to be up at the Conservatory Garden, which is in the more northern area of the park, you need a $400 permit and a $100 photography permit, which doesn't seem that pricey, but the trick there are the wait lists to get in there are quite long. Now, if you're just having a small wedding, you could get married up there, and just come on in and elope. Why not?
Oh yeah, you could probably. How long does it take to get married? 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, in and out, off to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Why not? But if you're gonna have more than 20 people, you need a permit fee through the park, and it's not that expensive. I think it's like $25 or $30 for the permit fee. So I mentioned that this is actually only the fifth largest park in New York City. It is the largest in Central Park. And construction began in 1857. The first part of the park, which is roughly what we're in right now, opened in 1858. And Olmsted and Vaux were our two parks designers. Olmsted, his major influence was a visit in 1850 to Birkenhead Park in England. And Olmsted was kind of responsible for the overall plan, while Vaux took care of some of the finer detail. You probably have picked up on Vaux did a lot of the structures in the park, so that would have been that finer detail.
The archways and
and like the dairy and exactly. The first part of the park opened to the public in 1858. And that would have been basically up to the lake, which we show in our first Central Park tour. And then the ramble would have come after that, the area just a little bit north of the lake, and it would have continued all the way up to 110th Street, where it is now, opening in 1876. So the park goes from 59th Street to 110th Street. 2.5 miles.
Yeah.
Long, about half a mile wide, 840 acres, or 340 hectares. Do you have a favorite memory of being in the park?
I mean, I certainly love coming in the park when it snows. I mean, summertime is I have lots of memories of coming to concerts in the park and fun summertime activities. But coming in the winter and seeing the whole park blanketed in white snow, it really does. It completely changes what the park looks like, and it's like you're coming into a brand new area.
Well, there's something about the city when it snows anyway.
Yeah.
It just like quiets down entirely. Yeah. So then to come into Central Park while the city's quiet, really all you're hearing are the sounds of kids like sledding and having a good time, basically. Yeah. That's sort of all you hear on those snowy days.
Absolutely.
I do like coming for the shows in the Delacorte Theater, Shakespeare in the Park.
Oh, yeah. Or concerts on the Great Lawn, or any sort of like performance venue that's happening in Central Park is a big deal, because it's Central Park outside of the Delacorte is not really it's not designed for performances. So when they set up stages and you get to come in the park and put down a blanket and sit down and enjoy an incredible. There's been some incredible performances over the years in Central Park. Barbra Streisand,
Diana Ross, Simon and Garfunkel, Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
The daffodils and the tulip, those are tulips on our left, by the way. It looks like daffodils from afar, but when you really look at them, it's tulips with those magnolias. No, those are cherry blossoms behind it.
Yeah.
Thought they might have been magnolias at first, but they are indeed cherry blossoms.
Beautiful.
Now, we're walking right along Fifth Avenue, and if anybody is a fan of art, the Frick Art Museum is immediately to our right. And there's a giant. It's basically it's a mansion, essentially a
Yeah.
home. So it was Henry Clay Frick, and he bequeathed his personal collection as well as his personal home to start the museum. So that's it right there. It's not open right now. They're currently doing some renovation on it. So it's in the Brewer Building, which is where the Whitney was for decades.
I mean, that was somebody's home. That whole block was that. It takes up the whole block.
Yes,
Jeez
please.
Louise.
He built that, by the way, between 1912 and 1914, and it was designed by Thomas Hastings, who was one of our designers of the New York Public Library. And he passed away in 1919. His wife Adelaide went on to live in the house until 1931, and then when she passed away, that's when we saw the conversion of the house into the Frick Museum as we now know it, or as we will know it, I
Yeah.
should say, since it's being renovated as we speak. And so basically, we're coming upon Pilgrim Hill. We sort of hit the end of cherry blossom season on Pilgrim Hill, even though we've seen some gorgeous cherry blossoms along the way. We're at the tail end here. It's so short lived when those cherry
Yeah.
blossoms
Oh
creep
God,
in.
they're so beautiful, but they stick around for such a short time.
But Pilgrim Hill is also a very popular sledding hill in the wintertime. And as we cross over this roadway up here and make our way along the hill, you'll see why. It's a nice gentle slope down, and they even put up hay bales at the bottom so that
To block people
yeah,
from crashing.
you have a nice soft
Yeah,
landing
yeah.
at the end. Some beautiful magnolias coming in. Oh, I can see the wind blowing
Yeah.
the petals off. So, as we mentioned earlier, there was vehicular traffic for some time in the park. It has since ceased, with the exception of um, the occasional NYPD officer or Central Park Conservancy. But this is a roadway right here for bicycles and pedicabs to easily get in and out of the park. Again, the buildings there in the background are residences along Fifth Avenue. All right, so we're going to cross over and we're going to make our way down to the conservatory water, which is all filled up, which is nice. The last time we walked through here a couple weeks ago, they had it drained so they could clean it out, basically, and
Oh,
it looked
yeah.
rough. But they've really cleaned it up quite nicely.
That did not take long to fill that back up with water.
Your dad didn't like it?
This is the hill we're talking about, by the way, Pilgrim Hill, the wonderful sledding hill in the wintertime.
Oh yeah, if there is snow in the park, this hill will be packed with sledders and families and kids screaming with joy.
So this is called conservatory water, and the reason it's called conservatory water is the original plan was to have a large glass conservatory planned right here. So presumably the outline of this is what that would have been. As much as I do like conservatory water, I love the idea of a giant conservatory
Yeah.
being here. That would have been really spectacular.
Oh yeah.
So this is now just kind of an ornamental pond. I'm honestly not sure if they still do it. We haven't seen it in a while, but for the longest time they would allow ice skating on this pond. If it froze over in the wintertime, they would allow some ice skating there. You had to BYOS, bring your own skates. And then in the nicer weather, they have radio and wind-powered model boats that are out here on the pond. You might remember that from the film Stuart Little. I think they talk about it in the book as well. And as we curve around, you're going to see the Curbs Boathouse there in the distance with that green roof to it. And that's where you can rent those little powered boats.
Yeah.
And they're little model boats, by the way. It's not like you can go boating in this pond. Boating would happen over on the lake, which is not too far from us right now. But this also has bathrooms and some light refreshments. There are plenty of bathrooms in the park, believe it or not.
There are.
I know that you would think it would be hard to find a bathroom in Central Park, but there's actually quite a few
Yeah.
all throughout.
Such a great view with the Upper East Side there. We have a musician playing
Musician up
today.
here. We're going to go behind the musician to show off our next statue. We have two more statues we want to show off on our journey today, our Central Park Part 2 journey. And again, this area, as we mentioned, is kind of the children's portion of the part, or children's part of the park. And as a result, a lot of the themes of this area are children themed. And certainly our next two statues are children themed. And the next one is Hans Christian Andersen. And give us a moment. We'll make our way behind the singer. Moving to and every breath we drew is hallelujah. This Hans Christian Andersen statue is a gift from the Danish American Women's Association. And it's a monument to Danish author Hans Christian Andersen, best known for his fairy tales, The Little Mermaid, The Emperor's New Clothes, and The Little Match Girl. And the monument commemorates the author's 150th birthday. It was unveiled in the park in 1956. And he's got a little ugly duckling there too, although not so ugly. And there's oftentimes storytelling here too that the Central Park Conservancy schedules. You can see he's even reading the Ugly Duckling book right there. All right, let's make our way to our next statue. Now, what's one thing that's really unique about the statues in this area, we kind of mentioned this when we were over by Balto, is they are indeed designed in a way so that children can play, climb on them and play, and you'll certainly see that on our next one as well. Got some of the pink cherry blossoms coming into view. Yeah. Interestingly enough, the cherry blossoms that were gifted to Washington, D.C. by the country of Japan, New York also got some. Now, the difference between what New York and D.C. did was D.C. did a very smart thing, and they placed all those cherry blossoms in one location, so you get that spectacular viewing of them when they all come into bloom. New York kind of spread them out around the city. So it's still spectacular. It's just not as exciting because they're not all lumped in one location like they are in DC. I sort of wish they had done that.
Yeah.
Put them all in one area. Perhaps an area that's not tread as popularly as Central Park or something to get folks there. All right, we have one more statue we want to show you over here, which is none other than Alice in Wonderland, one of the most popular artworks in Central Park. We're going to round the corner here. I don't see anybody playing on it right now. I'm shocked we're going to get clean pictures of it, which is rare. Usually there are children climbing all over it.
Which is what it's meant to be.
Yeah, it's rare. Usually they tell kids, stay off the statues, but this is the children's district. They want kids to jump and play on it. As you can see, the toadstools there are built almost like steps for kids to jump up on it. This was a gift in 1959 from George Delacorte, who also did the clock that we listened to earlier. And this was a tribute to his late wife Margarita, who was this was her favorite book to read to her children. This is created by Jose de Kreft. And it's also said that the Mad Hatter you see there on the right is a caricature of George Delacorte himself. Somebody stuck some flowers in his hat too. It's really quite nice. Such an iconic sculpture here in the park. So thank you all for joining us. It was beautiful.
Wow, we could not have asked for a better day.
Yeah.
So we got lucky, and we took you all along with us. So so thanks for sticking with us for this tour in the what is called the Children's District. As you can tell, with the zoo and the Alice in Wonderland statue and Hans Christian Andersen and the Carousel, of course, why it's called the Children's District. The original designers deemed it the Children's District for a reason, and we like strolling through because there's a lot of laughter and joy in this section of the park of Central Park. So we love it.
Yeah. If you want to see more with us, click that subscribe button at the bottom. Give us a like. Leave a comment. Maybe your favorite portion of this tour. It's always good to know what folks like along the way. So put in the comment what was your favorite thing you saw on today's tour.
Yeah, and also you can let us know in the comments where else you'd like us to go. What other parts of Central Park or New York you'd like to see.
Again, we're AMP Adventures. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Patrick.
This is Patrick. And we'll see you on our upcoming tours.
All right. We'll leave you with this pretty shot of the Manhattan skyline that's looking south.